I'm Wendy Rahamut and welcome to another edition of Indigenous Bites. Today I am on a cassava plantation in Caparo, Trinidad, that's central Trinidad, and we're going to learn all about planting this wonderful magical root crop, harvesting it, and of course I'm going to cook for you two delightful recipes right here. But before that, I'm going to go and have a small chat with my farmer. So I'm here with Mr. Steve Manu, and he is the owner of this lovely cassava plantation we're on in Caparo. So thank you for the hospitality this morning. So we were chatting earlier and you were telling me farming is in your blood. Can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this?
Well, we were sugarcane farmers previously, but since the closure of Caroni Limited in 2003, we started to grow a small field of cassava. But when it entirely went down in 2007, we had the acreage of land, so we had something to do. You know, I mean, we were born into farming.
Right. So I know cassava as a root crop is extremely sustainable. So you're always reading about how we can feed a lot of countries with cassava as a staple in your diet. So I know there are different types. You're telling me you plant what type here? MX? Right. So tell us a little bit about how the actual growth procedure of planting to harvesting for the MX.
Okay, well, as the rainy season steps in, that's the most common time for any planting.
So that's like now, May, June?
Correct. So you do the land preparation previously. Land preparation, that has a lot to do with production. If it doesn't prepare properly, then you won't have a good production.
So you plant your cassava by hand?
By hand. Everything is done, harvesting, everything is done manually.
And how long from the time you put the sticks into the ground to
harvesting?
To harvesting.
Probably about 8 to 12 months.
So you do that on a cycle? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so wow. All right, and then so do you have infestation of insects or?
Presently, we have the locusts. What will happen is that they will just eat the leaves. The leaves will grow back when rain starts. The tubers will become a little more swollen because no leaves to feed.
You've got all these fields here, so you obviously do something with all this cassava rather than just, you don't sell it in the market. So
well,
you process.
We process. We trade under the name Farmline Enterprises.
Right.
One of our major customer is the school nutrition program.
Okay, great.
We supply cassava cubes.
Right. So I know I personally love cassava. It's one of my favorite. What's your favorite thing to do with cassava? Do you eat it a lot? I know a lot of people that grow things tend not to want to eat it.
My favorite dish for cassava is grated, as you use it in poon.
So that's your favorite thing, poon, right? And it's very versatile. You can do so many things with it.
Yeah.
So you sell, you process this when you reap all this cassava. You process it into how many different types of frozen products, I assume?
Yes, 3 different types of frozen products. Grated cassava for bakeries, cassava logs for supermarkets, etc. The cubes for the school nutrition program.
Right. Great. So and it's very viable and sustainable. Is it a hard crop to manage?
No.
So pretty much once you plant it,
Correct.
It doesn't need to be watered or.
No.
Okay. And if I wanted to plant this in my backyard, would it be easy for me?
More or less, very easy.
Because I know you have to plant the sticks.
Yes. Well, again, as I say, in your backyard, you need to prepare your land properly. Land preparation is everything.
Okay, great. So let's go and see how we can dig up some today.
Sure.
some of this delightful tuber for you now. So continuing along on this wonderful farm to table series with our Indigenous bites, we just harvested some cassava and we're going to cook that now. So I've got some I've already washed, of course, and I'm going to show you how to peel it. You simply make an incision with the knife going down and you slip the pointed part underneath the skin. Now you need to get rid of that pink area because that is what houses the arsenic in the cassava. Once you get rid of that, it's okay. So it should peel off easily. Oops, there you go, like so. And you know, when you're buying this in the market, it's your right to ask the vendor to cut the cassava in half for you, because really good cassava is supposed to be lily white on the inside. You see how beautiful and white this is? So that's exactly how you would want your cassava to be when you bring it home. And when you bring it home, if you're bringing it from the market, you have to sort of peel it right away and put it into the freezer, or else it does not. It's one of the ground provisions or root provisions that does not last on in your kitchen for more than a day. So try and do that. So there we go. So we put these into the pot now. Great. So I want to leave this open so that it doesn't overboil. So what I'm making for you today actually is two really different and really delicious cassava dishes. I love cassava, and there's a myriad of ways that you can actually prepare this wonderful ground provision or root provision. I'm going to do first up for you a nice creamy mashed cassava, which really works just like a mashed potato. It's delightful on its own, or to top your shepherd's pie, or you can even make them into little cakes after that and pan fry them for some wonderful cassava cakes. And secondly, I'm going to make for you a Spanish Caribbean dish. It's very, very popular in the Spanish Caribbean countries and especially in Cuba, and it is called yuca con mojo. Now yuca is the Spanish translation for cassava, and they use it a lot in the Spanish Caribbean countries as well. It is a wonderful sustainable crop, and it is just amazing because it's a complex carb, so it's very satisfying and full of lots of nutrients and lots of fiber as well. It stays really well in your freezer. So this is going to take about 15 minutes to boil, and once that's boiled, we're going to split that into two and do those two delightful dishes for you. So my cassava is perfectly boiled. As you can see how lovely that looks. It looks nice and starchy. And of course you can take the center vein out at all. What I'm going to do first of all is make a nice creamy mashed cassava. So what I like to do with this is leave some of the water in the bowl. Great. I'm going to start with my potato peeler, masher, sorry. I'm going to just mash this up. It smells so good. So first time I'm cooking cassava farm to table, and it smells amazing. This is one of my most favorite ground provisions, and it's a very versatile one as well. So look how lovely and white that looks, lovely and powdery. Okay, so into this I'm going to add, while it's hot, a nice bit of butter and some milk as well, and a nice bit of garlic goes in there as well. I'm going to put some all-purpose seasoning in there as well. That's to give it a nice kind of spiciness. Of course, this doesn't have any MSG in it, so it's nice. And we're just going to get in there with the masher and mash. Now, if you're doing this and you want to do it ahead of time, you're going to have to really put a lot more liquid into it, because the cassava does actually pull a lot of that liquid and it tends to get a little tight, so you can put more liquid into that and leave it. And then when you come back, it should be a nice texture and consistency. So that is absolutely lovely. So this is just about the way we want it. And with a little bit of salt into this. And I'm going to grab some parsley. And just finely chop this up. So I'm going to put some of this into my I'm going to put some of that into my creamy cassava. We're going to mix that up, and then I'm just going to plate this. Okay, so for my second take on this delightful root crop cassava, we're doing yuca con mojo, and as I said earlier, it is a Spanish Caribbean take, very popular dish in Cuba, and we use limes, onions, and lots of garlic, and the limes actually brightens up the flavor of your dishes, so it's a wonderful ingredient. It's used a lot in Caribbean and Spanish Caribbean cuisine. We don't really need lemons if we've got limes. That's exactly how I think about it. So I just took the bony part out of the cassava or the yuca, and I'm cutting them into nice little strips because you want to make sure everything gets covered with all this wonderful sauce we're going to put with it, that citric acidic. So first up, we're going to slice a few onions, and I've got some lovely chili peppers here, so I'm going to just diagonally slice these up. I love these. You see them in the market and in the groceries, and they add a lovely bit of heat to whatever you're cooking, just the right amount, and it's got a lovely flavor as well. It's kind of like a bird peppery flavor. A little bit of pimento. I've got some pimento here, so I'm going to slice that up as well. Great. And we've got some limes, which I'm going to squeeze into a dish here. So I'm going to use the juice of about 3 tiny limes. So these are tiny limes, but they've got a lot of juice in them. So heat up some oil in my frying pan. I'm going to add my garlic. Wait until that gets nice and fragrant. Then of course we add the onions and the peppers. Give that a little stir. Add in our lime juice that I cook for a few seconds, and of course some orange bitters, which is citrus in that, is going to bring up the citrus in the lime. And then we're going to drop the cassava in. Toss that around a bit, and that's all you need for a wonderful, delightful Spanish dish.